Now,
on News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
Vince Coglianese.
Well, good afternoon to you. It is 4:06 now, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up this hour, Congressman Andy Biggs joins us. We talk impeachment and government spending with him. Mike Van Meter joins us at 5 o'clock, a candidate for state senate in Virginia in such a critical race and a critical body of lawmaking. E.J. Antoni will be with us at 5:30 from the Heritage Foundation, an economist, also the in-house economist of the Vince Coglianese Show. We'll talk to him about this congressional spending fight as well and today's inflation numbers. And we'll chat with you at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Rush Limbaugh used to call it the stack of stuff. I've got a big stack of content in front of me today, things to talk about. Looters are back out on the street in Philadelphia. I remember over the weekend all of the video footage from this past weekend of just looting going on in Philadelphia, storefronts being smashed in, people stealing like crazy, videos being shot and posted to social media, people screaming with joy as they steal from others. It's just awful, honestly. And it's not, the left. I love the left on this. They're like, people are just trying to feed their families. They're not stealing bread. They're stealing iPhones and Lululemon, and the whole thing is wild. And it's just for sale. It's not for feeding families or anything else. It's to sell it off, either illegal merchandise sales or just the thrill of stealing and hurting other people. Wow, what a rush. Looters back out on the streets in no time. The Philly looting suspects have quickly returned to the streets under the Soros DA, that's Larry Krasner, in Philadelphia, who has a cashless bail system. Nearly half of the individuals booked on charges stemming from their alleged participation in Philadelphia's Tuesday night looting spree were allowed to walk free on zero bail within 24 hours of their arrest, according to police records. Police arrested 52 individuals after at least 100 rioters descended on downtown Philadelphia, looting 28 stores, including Apple and Lululemon. Police allowed 14 of the 30 people charged to walk free because of the city's zero bail policy for certain crimes, according to records from the Pennsylvania judicial system. Quote, our administration will continue to work with our public safety partners to increase officer presence and ensure the safety of all of our residents and businesses. Democratic Philadelphia Mayor Jim Kenney wrote in a tweet Wednesday, to anyone planning to participate in criminal activity, please know there will be consequences. There will be consequences, said the mayor. Really, what are the consequences? Because it looks like he just released most of the people who were arrested for stealing from their neighbors in Philadelphia. Consequences, sure. Why aren't there consequences? Why can't the left do that? Why does everything with the left have to be Marxist chaos? It's going to, in the end, these idiots are going to be consumed themselves. Obviously, it's already coming for their city. You're watching as the city is getting wrecked. But, all these people, none of us are going to be free from this kind of violence and crime. The more you allow, the more it'll grow, the more it'll spread, and the more it'll take us all down. And last night in Loudoun County, there was a candidate debate. Loudoun County Board of Supervisors member Julie Briskman, the woman who became famous for putting her middle finger up while she was riding a bicycle as Donald Trump's motorcade went by. She argued last night that she has always been against police officers working with students, being in schools to protect the kids. She's against that. She's very proud of this. Listen to this audio, just in terms of who's causing all this chaos. Well, Julie Briskman would be among the people causing the chaos.
There was a falsehood in my challenger's opening statement that I took SROs out of elementary schools. Out of schools, period. I actually fought against them being included in our budget in our first year in office. We didn't ever have SROs in elementary schools, and I don't think we should ever have SROs in elementary schools.
I don't think we should ever have school resource officers in elementary school. We should never protect children. That should never happen, says lunatic Julie Briskman.
First year in office, we didn't ever have SROs in elementary schools, and I don't think we should ever have SROs in elementary schools. SROs contribute to the school-to-prison pipeline, and I will do everything I can to protect our children.
Okay, you hear the people laughing at her? Like, what a clown. And they're right to laugh at her. So she says that SROs, this is an article of faith on the left. SROs, school resource officers, contribute to the, quote, school-to-prison pipeline. Now, what they mean by that is if cops are around to observe criminality, people might get arrested. And if they get arrested, that's going to start a chain of events in their life because, that's going to be bad for them. They're going to have a criminal record, and they're going to spin out of control, and they don't get to learn that they don't get to practice. I don't know. What are they even talking about? What, you're supposed to get a couple of freebies in, some mulligan crimes? Come on. It's the school-to-prison pipeline. The reality is it's the crime-to-prison pipeline. If you commit a crime, and fitting that a jury of your peers decides that you're guilty of it and a judge sentences you to jail, the school resource officer didn't throw them in jail. This is another sign of the left's incoherence, too, because the left talks about things like, we need more community policing. We need cops to stop attacking people, and we need cops who know their communities, and they shouldn't be strangers. Yeah. So if that's what you want, why wouldn't you want to give kids a healthy relationship with public servants, with police officers, people whose jobs it is to protect the community? Obviously, you don't want kids to understand what it means to be a cop and get to know them. Have you seen kids with school resource officers? There are so many. I don't know if I've ever encountered a bad school resource officer. I'm sure they exist, but typically what this looks like is a cop who works in a school with kids on a daily basis gets to know them. They know each other by name. They joke to each other. And the cop's available to help protect the kids if the unthinkable happens. There is somebody with a gun there. On this conversation around gun violence in schools and how do we disarm the populace in order to stop attacks on schools, well, the counter to that is, well, shouldn't there be a good guy with a gun available to fire back? And it doesn't always work. Obviously, Parkland, the cop got scared stiff and he hung in a corner, and a lot of kids died as a result of his inaction. We saw a different response in other places in the country where cops have responded to school shootings with aggression and speed. Heroism. So what is Julie Briskman even arguing for here? The kids shouldn't be protected and the kids shouldn't have relationships with police officers. They should be just more distant and they should be considered caricatures of cops. The kids need to be told that the cops are bad, and then when they encounter them in public, they have a prejudicial understanding of who police officers are. It's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. But that's unfortunately who the left has become. They coddle and enable violent crime. In Philly, they just release everybody who steals everything. In Loudoun County, you have Board of Supervisors members who say that children shouldn't be anywhere near school resource officers and vice versa. It's nuts. On our border, you have illegal immigrants pouring in right now, as you know. And one of my colleagues over at the Daily Caller, Jenny Terr, has video this week of illegal immigrants coming in and a Border Patrol agent fist bumping them. What is this?
Gracias. Agradecido con el país.
Soy periodista. No.
Gracias. Thank you. They're coming in like conquering heroes. And fist bumping with the Border Patrol agent? Presumably who just cut the concertina wire, by the way. Now, I have been giving the Border Patrol agents the benefit of the doubt throughout most of this, and I think rightfully so. Look, I'm not pretending this is an easy job, and I really feel for the guys who signed up for this thinking that they would be securing our border. They're not doing that. They're tasked with cutting down the concertina wire. That's the Department of Homeland Security that's forcing them to do that. They are also tasked with processing people into the country. The Biden administration forcing them to do that. Now, I wonder at what point that maybe Border Patrol agents get together and they think, maybe, they take an oath too. Maybe this is violating the Constitution. I don't know. Maybe you could figure out a way to fight back against this, organize against this, perhaps. But it's totally insane. But now you're getting fist bumps crossing the border. Way to go. You made it. You've captured the flag and you're not leaving. The last thing the left wants to do is talk about this border, though, and how out of control it is. They keep on insisting everything is fine, that the border is well put together and it's totally secure, which, of course, it isn't. Here's the RNC this week put together a supercut. Supercuts are the most useful thing ever. They're just like good compilations of all sorts of people saying some version of the same thing. Here are a bunch of Democrats insisting that the border is completely and totally secure.
It is my testimony that the border is secure.
The president have worked very, very hard to implement a strategy when it comes to the border that is humane, safe, and has orderly enforcement.
Things are going at the border, sir.
Much better than you all expected.
We have a secure border in that is a priority for any nation, including ours and our administration.
We have responded with a model approach that has proven to work.
We have taken unprecedented action over the past year and a half to secure our border.
And we have a process in place to manage migrants at the border. We're working to make sure it's safe and orderly and humane.
The border is closed.
Now, by the way, as all of these clips are playing, it's a split screen on the video. The video shows on one half the Biden administration official who's lying about the border, and on the other half, the truth of the border as human beings are pouring in at every single gap.
We agree that the border is secure.
We're executing a comprehensive strategy to secure our borders.
One of our highest priorities is to ensure that we have a secure border, and that is what we are doing.
We are stopping the flow at the border.
The border is secure.
I mean, Baghdad Bob level. Just Baghdad Bob level lies over and over. It's as you know, it's horrific. And so there are people who've been trying to call attention to it. We certainly have, and we do it all the time. We have to do it every show. I think we do. Elon Musk, the world's richest man and the owner of Twitter and many other companies, he went to the border yesterday to bring attention to all of this. Here is this is some of Elon Musk's visit to the border. He called for a wall yesterday. He was tweeting, "We definitely need a wall on the navigable portions of the border, and it would be easy."
So I'll just start off by saying I'm like, obviously Elon here. I'm at Eagle Pass, just arrived, and we're just going to go around and talk to the major officials and law enforcement and whatnot that are here and just kind of eyeball the situation, get a sense for what's going on, and so you can get the kind of like the real story. Hey guys, how's it going?
This is the shot right here.
So now there's part of the stream that he put together yesterday. He was live streaming all of this on what he calls X now, his Twitter account. And he aims his camera. They aim the camera at a group of hundreds of military-aged males, all sitting in, they've been arranged in lines, sitting underneath of a bridge, waiting for processing by the Border Patrol. And Elon kind of glances at them. He's wearing his aviators and his cowboy hat.
Okay, this is...
Look at this. These people, you see how orderly it is?
Yeah, I mean, it's very orderly, so...
It's like an orderly, chaotic, unruly event that's happening.
Okay.
And it's wrong. It's wrong for everybody involved.
Sure.
And we're not talking one or two people. We're talking thousands of people every day.
Thousands of people every day, yeah. All right. Oh, well, okay, I'm going to end the live stream now.
Yeah, so that's Elon on the border. Now, MSNBC is mad about this. There's an MSNBC host by the name of Medicine, who, his name's Mehdi Hassan, that's his name. But I like calling him Medicine. That makes more sense. Medicine is angry. He says, I know we've become numb to this. He tweets. He posted the Elon Musk platform. This is hilarious. I know we've become numb to this in the age of Trump and celebrity politicians. But why is a businessman who runs tech and car companies at the border giving us updates and being hosted by officials and law enforcement? What is the point of this? Why does he think he should be there? Says Medicine. Now, here's why, Medicine. It's because your network isn't covering this. It's because the corporate news outlets are barely even discussing this subject. And if they do, it's as a basis to grant amnesty to millions of people who are here in the country illegally, or to get more federal money into Democrat-run cities. That's the only reason anybody's talking about it in the legacy press, in the corporate press. And so he's angry that Elon Musk is calling attention to it. I don't know. Elon has one of the largest platforms for the distribution of information on the planet. So it actually makes a lot of sense that he would go and do this. And God bless anybody who brings attention to this issue. They should. Because if you don't bring attention there, the attention's coming to you. It's coming to your town in the form of humans, drugs, death, destruction. We have a full-blown invasion going on. We need adults that can cover it instead of covering it up as the MSNBC guy does. He's ridiculous. Of course, he posted it to Twitter. It's like, why do we even listen to anything Elon says? He says on Elon's platform. 422 now.
Chris Plant, loud and clear. Weekdays 9 to noon.
On News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Yeah, Elon Musk is causing a lot of trouble in the last 24 hours. The left is so angry at him. He tweeted the following, a common sense sentiment that others have said, including yours truly. Why do so many American politicians from both parties care 100 times more about the Ukraine border than the USA border? Musk asked yesterday. That's a fantastic question. And the reason it's fantastic is because it's true. It's so sad that it's true. I remember early in the Ukraine conflict, Russia invades Ukraine. U.S. spends ungodly amounts of money and weapons and resources to help. And for those of us who were like, well, wait a second, we've got a wide open American border. Can we get control of that? Like, what is the message you're sending here by showing that every single lawmaker in Washington is obsessed with the Ukrainian border? Okay, fine, but where's the same obsession for our borders? And people, if you asked that question, you were laughed off. Like, how dare you? We can walk and chew gum at the same time. Really? So all of this time has passed. And neither situation's actually gotten all that better. Ukraine's border or our border. So why not some focus on ours? Elon Musk asking an obvious question, and of course, as you'd expect, being attacked for that. Coming up, Andy Biggs will join us just minutes away. We'll chat with him about that impeachment inquiry yesterday, that first hearing. The left is so furious about it. And also the spending fight in Congress. What's going to happen next? It's all ahead on the Vince Coglianese Show.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Well, good afternoon to you. 4:35 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up, Mike Van Meter will join us at 5 o'clock. He's a candidate for Virginia State Senate in the 33rd District. It's such an important race, an important body. We'll talk to Mike about his campaign and how you can support it. E.J. Antoni will be with us as well at 5:30. He's an economist for the Heritage Foundation and for us here on the Vince Coglianese Show. And we'll talk about today's economic numbers and, importantly, this spending fight going on in Congress right now, where you have, Democrats and some Republicans. It's so crazy what's happening because our government is just spending money at out-of-control levels. We are over $33 trillion in debt. Debt service payments amount to a fifth of all of the government's expenditures right now. 20% of all of our expenditures are on debt service payments, and that number is only climbing really aggressively as the interest rate payments keep going up, thanks to the Federal Reserve printing so much money in the first place. And as a result, of course, the way that you arrest inflation is you make the people suffer. That's the way you do it. You drive up unemployment. You make everything prohibitively expensive. You drive up loan payments. It's just bad. It's just real bad. And so that's the economic situation we're in right now. And there's only a couple of members of Congress who are willing to even confront it at the moment. They're being castigated as hard right and extremists, and they don't, they only represent a small percentage of the country. Who do these people think they are? And they're going to shut the government down, and on and on and on. That's the frame up today we're getting from the media, with no underlying examination of what's actually going on here and how much damage we're doing to our country. So we're going to try and get some answers here coming up from Congressman Andy Biggs, who's going to join us to talk about this. What is happening in the spending fight? Also, we're going to chat with him about what's going on with impeachment. Yesterday, there was an impeachment hearing, yet again. And, well, actually, the first impeachment inquiry for Joe Biden. I say yet again. We've been having them, every couple of years we have another impeachment hearing. But this one, it's probably well-deserved, isn't it? Very well-deserved. That this is a president who has been selling out the country to enrich his family, which is explicitly a bribery scheme. It doesn't even matter if Joe Biden's name is on a check or a wire transfer. That's not what it's about. Is he enriching his family with his official acts? Yes.
His dad. That's what we're investigating. That's one of the three things Professor Turley talked about, the influence peddling scheme. I want to go to those three things, Professor Turley. False statements, influence peddling scheme, and Joe Biden might have benefited. Let's do the third one first. Is a benefit to your family, can a benefit to your family be a benefit to you?
It is. There's been repeated statements that you need to show that President Biden accepted direct money in order for this to constitute a benefit, even under criminal cases that deal with bribery, extortion, and the Hobbs Act. The courts actually have rejected that. They've said that money going to family members is, in fact, a benefit. And I don't really see any legal basis for that. Obviously, the strongest case is if you have a direct payment. But this idea that you can have millions going to a politician's family and that's not a benefit, I think is pretty fallacious.
Yeah, it's totally fallacious. Obviously, this is bribery. Obviously. Jonathan Turley's testimony yesterday was that he thought that there is more than enough evidence to justify an impeachment inquiry for them to be having the very hearing they had yesterday. He also said, though, that he thought that there wasn't quite enough evidence yet to support articles of impeachment.
In fact, I do not believe that the current evidence would support articles of impeachment. That is something that an inquiry has to establish. But I also do believe that the House has passed the threshold for an impeachment inquiry into the conduct of President Biden.
Now, the media yesterday and tonight, last night and this morning have been lying to their audiences. The corporate press have been lying to their audiences about the extent of Turley's remarks because they clipped it in half. They said that the GOP witness, Jonathan Turley, said that he doesn't believe that there's enough evidence against Joe Biden to impeach him. That's all they said, without telling their audience that. But he did say that there's enough evidence to justify an inquiry here. For instance, CNN Capitol Hill reporter Annie Grayer posting on Twitter yesterday, quote, 2 of Republican Party's witnesses at the impeachment inquiry hearing say there isn't enough evidence against Joe Biden. Melanie Zanona, another Capitol Hill reporter for CNN, tweeted, frustration in the GOP over first impeachment hearing as the GOP witnesses undercut their narrative and say no evidence of crime. That is not what Turley said. That is not what Turley said. Now, I said yesterday, and I'll say again today, I disagree with Jonathan Turley. He's the constitutional lawyer here, but boy, I have to say, there is not just circumstantial, but direct evidence of Joe Biden's implication in this scheme to enrich his family, including, obviously, the efforts to get the prosecutor fired in Ukraine. That's direct evidence. That's Biden on camera saying, I told him, and son of a b, they did it. We got the guy fired. I was going to withhold the money. I told him Obama supports me in this effort, and they fired the guy. There's the direct evidence that the State Department had a favorable view of Shokin. There's paperwork to that effect. Jim Jordan quoted from it yesterday. That the State Department thought well of him, that he was tackling corruption well in the country. And so that is at odds with the claims that he was actually a corrupt prosecutor that needed to be canned. There's the FD 1023 form, which consists of an FBI informant coming out and saying, yeah, there was a bribery scheme involving Joe and Hunter Biden. Millions of dollars exchanged in order to get this prosecutor fired. That's all evidence. You have the direct evidence of an eyewitness to the Biden family's business arrangements, Tony Bobolinsky, coming out and saying, yeah, 1,000%. Joe Biden's the big guy, 10% for the big guy. I don't have any doubt in my mind. Bobolinsky explained that he was told not to put Joe's name in writing. This is much of that is direct evidence. It's not circumstantial. It's not detecting patterns. Like, money flows to Hunter. Joe Biden gave a policy speech that day. That's not it's not just circumstantial evidence, in other words. There was an expert tax crime witness who also testified before the committee yesterday. Her name is Eileen O'Connor. You've heard her here on this program. She was a former assistant attorney general for the tax division. So if anybody knows tax law, it's Eileen O'Connor. And she had an interesting moment yesterday because Dan Goldman of New York tried to assert something that was completely wrong, and Eileen O'Connor shut him down. This was a hilarious moment as Dan Goldman steps on a big old rake.
Thank you very much. I thank my colleague. Ms. O'Connor, I believe you testified before that the 99-page DOJ tax memo gave a full authorization for the charges. Is that your testimony?
That is what the whistleblowers reported.
Actually, the whistleblowers reported that it was a discretion finding. And since you worked in the DOJ tax division, I'm sure you understand that there is full authorization, there is discretion, and there is declination. And when they give a discretion determination, that is because there are serious holes and flaws, and they leave it to the discretion of the U.S. attorney whether or not they want to charge it. Isn't that correct?
No, not at all. Discretion is not based on holes and flaws. It's based on the ability of that particular district to prosecute that case. And in fact, that 99-page memo is referred to several times in the testimony.
Excuse me.
And
what do you mean,
only in one time did it mention discretion. All the other times it did not mention discretion at all. And
so you're disputing that it's
Gentleman's time has expired. The chair now recognizes Mr. Palmer from Alabama.
All right, so a full court dunk by Eileen O'Connor on Dan Goldman here. And her testimony was marvelous yesterday because she just pointed out how unusual and how out of line the treatment of Hunter Biden was compared to literally anybody else who would be subjected to this kind of scrutiny. It's like you're talking millions of dollars in unpaid taxes, bizarre financial arrangements. The father is clearly implicated, and yet investigators were shutting down either lines of inquiry, prosecutors were, lines of inquiry, or the prosecution of these crimes. Or, most egregiously, in her view, and certainly in the view of people like me and just sitting on the outside watching this, is allowing the statute of limitations to expire in what appears to be a completely intentional way. They knew. How dumb are the prosecutors? It's not like they're like, oops, we missed our chance to file charges. Guess I should have set up a calendar appointment or something to remind me. No, they let it lapse to protect the Biden family. And we have found out so much about this assistant U.S. attorney, Leslie Wolf. Was she on the Biden family payroll? Every single interaction she seems to have with these investigators is to stop them from getting closer to the Bidens, alerting the Bidens ahead of official investigative steps, letting them know that investigators were looking at a storage unit that the Bidens had ahead of time, that the investigators were seeking to come do interviews with not only Hunter Biden, but everybody around him, tipping them off to this occurring. And then telling investigators, IRS well-regarded, talented, career officials, telling these investigators, stop talking about dad. Don't look into political figure one. That's Joseph Robinette Biden. No questions on that subject. So Eileen O'Connor was left stunned by all of this. She said yesterday, like, you follow the facts where they lead in an investigation. If they lead to other suspects, you tackle that. But that's not what happened here at all. The cover-up is evidence of the crime, isn't it? The fact that you have people within the government who have moved heaven and earth not to have these questions answered is evidence that there's something deep, something very dark going on here. And so a perfectly good impeachment inquiry yesterday, the media crapping all over it, saying that no new evidence was presented, saying that the GOP witnesses undermined all of it, that there was nothing to it. Did I play this for you, Jamie Raskin?
If the Republicans had a smoking gun or even a dripping water pistol, they would be presenting it today, but they've got nothing on Joe Biden. All they can do...
Well, this is garbage because everything... The Republicans have presented mountains of evidence in the lead up to the hearing. They didn't hold off on sharing it with us. They didn't say, wait for the hearing, then you'll get the real scoop. No, every single thing that they've gotten a hold of that we're aware of, they've released to the public. Maybe there's other stuff they're holding back and they're still trying to suss out and vet, but just a mountain of stuff this week. Not just this week, but over time. You know, Chuck Ross over at the Washington Free Beacon is a friend of mine for a long time now. And great colleague, very talented journalist. We've had him on the show a bunch. He wrote a piece this week, released it yesterday. The latest Hunter Biden document dump is littered with bombshells. Here are the biggest, he writes. So this is for you, Jamie Raskin. The House Ways and Means Committee released more than 700 pages of documents related to the committee's investigation into Hunter Biden this week. The trove contains email exchanges between prosecutors working on the Biden probe and FBI interview transcripts with witnesses who have insight into the Biden family's business ventures. The evidence is certain to factor into House Republicans' impeachment inquiry into the president. Here are the main revelations from the document dump. 1. Hunter Biden prosecutor ordered investigators to remove a reference to Joe Biden from the search warrant. This is where he talks about Leslie Wolf came in to remove a reference to Joe Biden, i.e. political figure one. Quote, there should be nothing about political figure one in here, Leslie Wolf wrote in an email to FBI and IRS investigators. The email adds to the growing evidence that the U.S. Attorney's Office blocked investigators from pursuing leads related to the president. IRS investigators Gary Shapley and Joe Ziegler have claimed Wolf stymied several aspects of the investigation and tipped off Hunter Biden's lawyers to a planned search of the First Son storage unit in Virginia. Chuck notes that Wolf was actually removed from the prosecutorial team this year, but no one has explained why. Isn't that the way it goes with our government? They don't even explain to the voters what's happening. Why was she removed from the prosecutorial team? One other reminder for you, it's not mentioned here, but she was the one who negotiated the sweetheart deal for Hunter Biden. She was the one who set this up. And they were prepared to let him walk with no consequences for anything. Chuck continues here. The feds eyed sex trafficking charges against Hunter Biden. Federal investigators compiled examples of Hunter Biden potentially violating a sex trafficking law called the Mann Act, according to the emails. On October 21 of 2020, IRS tax crimes prosecutor Jack Morgan forwarded a list of 9 cases involving Biden and prostitutes to Leslie Wolf. Morgan highlighted 3 examples of Biden paying escorts to travel from Boston and New York to Los Angeles for sex. Where does he get the money for all of this, by the way? You know the answer to it, but like, no curiosity? Wolf forwarded the list to her colleagues, but that's where the case appears to have ended. The U.S. Attorney's Office has not charged Biden with sex trafficking offenses. He flew hookers across the country. He's not being charged with sex trafficking offenses. IRS whistleblowers previously revealed that Biden took tax deductions for payments that he made to prostitutes and a Los Angeles sex club in 2014. All right, more of the bombshells released this week in case you are either you're Jamie Raskin or you're friends with him and he keeps telling you there's no evidence of any crimes here. I don't know. Certainly seems like a gigantic pile of evidence here. It is 4:51.
Be a part of the conversation and stay informed.
Follow WMAL-DC on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
You know, yesterday, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, during this impeachment inquiry, showed a photograph she was showing a bunch of things, but she was pointing to a document that was released by the House Ways and Means Committee. And it was a transcript of an interview conducted with a prostitute who was allegedly trafficked to and later threatened by Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden apparently threatened the woman by telling her to Google his father and showed her a photograph of Joe Biden with Barack Obama. The woman said she became afraid. Listen to this exchange. Marjorie Taylor Greene trying to show all of this, and the Democrats freaking out yesterday.
And bathing suits not suitable, Mr. Raskin?
Well, I'm saying I would like the member to be instructed to not introduce any pornography today, at least without running it through the chair
bathing
first.
suit is not pornography,
Well, we
Mr.
can't
Raskin.
see it from down there, so you didn't make it available to the minority before you started.
I've seen it before. It's on the internet. It's everywhere.
You are submitting a naked woman's body.
This is a bathing suit. This is a bathing suit.
And it has not been cleared before this committee.
Glasses on. Do you wear them or not?
I have contacts in. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Icy moments between Marjorie Taylor Greene, Jamie Raskin, and AOC as Ms. Greene holds up bikini photos of the hooker that Hunter Biden had been threatening. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that family, is there? 4:58.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
Making sense of the news.